Good evening and welcome back to Prime of Midlife. It's Tuesday evening, and this evening we are talking about how retailers are continuing to make profits in this time of the cost of living crisis, high inflation, high interest rates. How are they still making profits? Well, according to the ECB, the European Central Bank, and the Bank of England, it's because they're price gouging, or what's also known as greedflation. And basically, that means that because they know we are expecting high prices, they just increase their prices. And one of the first things that I got was it says, retailers are continuing to jack up prices even as broader cost pressures such as supply chain delays and energy prices are easing off. And if you look at it, I mean, we've got double-digit food inflation pretty much over most of Europe, the US, etc. And we are paying a lot more for our food than we did before. As I've said before, that's why I started prepping. And that doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. And seemingly, it's such a big deal that bankers have started noticing it. Because bankers originally, if you remember, I did a video a while ago about the Bank of England saying that people should not ask for wage rises because that will keep the rate of inflation up. Seemingly, that's not what's happening. Whereas bankers originally thought that, any wage rises or labour shortages would be detrimental to getting inflation down, they've now said that this price gouging is emerging as a more prominent driver of inflation. And this double-digit food inflation has come as a surprise to many central bankers who'd been focusing on wage inflation and labour shortages. So it turns out Bank of England 0, Preppers 1, because we knew that the problem wasn't going to be wages going up. We knew that wasn't the problem. We knew it was the price of food, etc., was going to be a problem, and we watched it. And even as this guy's standing there at the Bank of England saying, "Oh no, you can't have a wage rise. That'll, push inflation up." It's not that. It's the greed of the retailers, and we know it's the greed of the retailers because, dear Lord, the farmers aren't getting any more money because they're tied into contracts. Your truckers aren't getting any more money. Your distribution people aren't getting any more money. Your shareholders, however, it appears research revealed that corporate profits were continuing to grow during the Eurozone's worst inflation in 30 years. So they are still managing to make profits. They're still happy to make profits while people are struggling to feed their kids. So my first thought in that is to start going as local as I can. Stop shopping at the supermarkets, which of course means for me my prices would go up considerably because of being rural. However, if you're in a bigger town, there's a lot of people have said about the ethnic supermarkets or your local supermarkets who get their fruit and veg and stuff, they get it from smaller suppliers. See if you can't get to them. Let's see if we can't stop these profit people getting all these profits on our backs, on our suffering, because that I find really, really irksome. It just irks me greatly. The fact that we're all pulling together, we're all trying to help each other, and what they're doing is they're looking at it going, oh, look, they're expecting prices to go up anyway, so if it's got to go up 5 pence, let's just put it up 10 pence, and that's 5 pence for our shareholders. And we don't know the difference, apart from in our pockets when we're trying to feed our families. The fact that this has now come out and surprised bankers doesn't make me terribly impressed at bankers, I have to say. But it just is, it's come as a surprise to the central bankers who'd been focusing on the wage rises and stuff. Obviously, they don't live in the real world. they don't live in the world where we need a wage rise to be able to afford the food that the retailers are price gouging. That's what we need. So yeah, I'm shocked and shooketh that it's taken this long for bankers to realise this. But in saying that, does it really matter? What difference is it going to make that bankers know this? Because who was it? Yeah, Bank of England, when he said, about wage rises, that workers shouldn't expect wage rises because it'll push inflation up. Did he say anything about companies? That they should maybe be careful about putting their costs up so much because it'll boost inflation? No, he did not, because, good Lord, the UK government is so into corporations at the moment rather than looking after its population. It just is ridiculous. But fingers crossed, now that that's out there, maybe some good will come of that. I'm not quite sure what, but to know that, that's what we're there for. That's all we are now, is to increase profits for shareholders. And I'm beginning to find that really rather irksome, to the point of I want to find a way around it. I haven't worked it out yet. I don't know what I'm doing yet. Well, I'll be growing some of my own food, so I won't have to buy from supermarkets. Possibly, I know that there's the fruit and veg market down in Glasgow, and I have ways and means of preserving fruit and veggies. I may have to go down there and just do a huge shop, like on payday, and preserve as much as I can. And just do that. Yeah, I mean, it's a 50-mile drive, but if I can do that and it saves me having to go to the supermarket for like a couple of months, it'll be worth it, I think. Can you tell I'm just sort of thinking of this as I'm going? But yeah, that's my thought of the day. When it's actually in the newspapers, when the governor of the Bank of, or not the governor, I think it was some spokesperson, but the ECB, the European Central Bank as well, when they're talking about retailers price gouging, it even has a name. It's called greedflation. When they're doing that, I think we need to relook at how we're doing things. Because best will in the world, says her going off on a tangent now, it's not just retailers in shops and things, because if, wherever you work, etc., or wherever you are in seeing this, if you're a smaller company just now, or if you're a smaller supplier, you'll find that, or as far as I'm seeing, what's happening is the big people, especially if you're a subcontractor type person. So if you're doing the cleaning, if Mighty's hiring your firm to do the cleaning in an area, or if you're doing something for a bigger company, costs are getting squeezed an awful lot now. And you're having to justify your costs an awful lot more. And people are saying, why do you think that's going to take you 4 hours? I find that an awful lot here, not just with my work, but through speaking to other people, because we're quite rural, so they have to travel. And with the price of diesel, they're like, well, why are you adding this cost? Why are you putting in it's going to take you this long, or it's going to cost you this much in travel? Have you seen the price of petrol or diesel? You seen how long it's going to take us to get there? This is not a mile away. This is 20 miles away. This is 30 miles away. This is going to take someone an hour to get there in the rush hour. I know that there's things where people have said, can you do work in Glasgow? I had this argument a few years ago before I even started with the company I'm with now. I did freelancing. And I was like, yeah, I can come to Glasgow, start at 10 o'clock? And they're like, oh no, we need you here for 9. Right, that's an extra hour. And they're like, what? And it's like, well, yeah, because if I leave my house at 8 o'clock for the hour that it says on Google Maps, it actually takes me nearer 2 hours to get through the rush hour. So they're looking at Google Maps saying, well, we'll pay you, if you leave at 8, you'll get to 9, it's an hour's travel. You're like, no, it's not. It's 2 hours, because it's like I'm going through 2 different rush hours. Oh, well, we can't have that. And well, I'm not coming. And I think there's a lot of smaller companies are now going to have to start saying, I'm not doing that. I am not doing, what I did before for the cost that I got paid before. And for some of us, that's going to be a big problem, because whereas, the bigger companies, especially if you've got your, when you buy your insurance or you buy your part of a group thing and they're like, oh yes, we've got people all over the country. Not now, they don't. Because people all over the country are not travelling as much now, and certainly not for the costs that were there before. And with the price gouging that's going on with retail, you bet your bottom dollar that the likes of your farmers, your, fruit and veg farmers, your wool producers, anything like that, anyone who's producing anything is going to stop and go, it's not worth it. And I think for us looking to try and get stuff, it's going to be a big problem. So yeah, that's my whole big long convoluted conversation today. I'm really sorry about that, but I think this thing with the price gouging for retail, and they're all still making their profits, whereas we're struggling to feed the kids. The farmers are struggling to make things, and they're still expected to sell it for no profit or at a loss. I think something's going to change. I think things are going to turn. Not quite sure how, but as Mandy and I say, I'm having a thing. I don't quite know what it is yet, but something's going to turn. So, yeah, hopefully the first thing that turns is prices will fall in our day-to-day purchases. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I am now going to go and make myself some dinner from the pre-made stuff I had before. I will catch you later.